Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
This is RBN, the Republic Broadcasting Network.
What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Tuesday, January 8th. It's 2019. Let me get a little more volume going up here. There we go. We're on our new little communication system, and some of the levels may not be set correctly just yet. So there we go. All right. Okay. Now, anyway, welcome to our show today. We've got a lot to talk about. The phone lines are open. 800-313-9443, 800-313-9443, and we've got Mike in our control room ready to answer the phone, put you on the air with your comments, questions, and observations. All right, the big news right now, and you've probably already seen it already, Donald Trump at 9 p.m. Eastern Time tonight is going to get on the TV and present his case for wanting to shut down that southern border, to get the wall built. He's going to be talking about all the crime that is coming on in, the economic harm to our country, the medical crisis. And it's interesting, for a while, it looked like the TV networks were going to actually not cover it. They were going to take the advice of that other network person the other day and said, we should never carry the president's speeches live. We'll just record them, then we'll edit them, and then we'll show them to the American people. But apparently they're going to cover them live. They may time limit him. If Trump runs long, he may get cut off. Then they're going to provide airtime for Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer to come on in and say that walls are immoral, and look, all the poor suffering children who are there at the border who just want a better life, and tug at your heartstrings and try and get their position. And again, this isn't about the children, and it isn't about the economy, and it isn't about immigration. This is a power play. Who is running the Congress, the government right now? Is it Donald Trump? Is it Nancy Pelosi? She thinks she's the equal of the president. She said so in a New York Times interview. Is it Chuck Schumer? Is it John Bolton and Mike Pompeo, who seem to have usurped foreign policy out of Trump's control? This is a very dangerous situation when you have a government that is badly factionalized and different people are in charge of different parts of the machinery of government. Anyway, so Trump is talking about declaring a state of emergency down there at the southern border. Now, when he says a state of emergency, he's not saying state of emergency. A lot of people are saying, oh, he's going to erase the Constitution, he's going to call martial law. No. This is about on the same level as when they declared a state of emergency for a major earthquake or the California wildfires or Hurricane Katrina. That's the degree we're talking about. And Trump is saying that under his authority, under a state of emergency, he could go ahead and build the border wall. Now, you've got the open borders people are out there saying walls are bad, walls are immoral. You've got Nancy Pelosi, whose the house she lives in has not only walls, it's got a moat. And then you have the Pope is saying walls are immoral. You should see the walls at Vatican City. I've been there. I've seen them myself. Certainly that wall that Israel has built around Palestine seems to work very well. Certainly the Berlin Wall worked. Very few people got through that. The Great Wall of China kept the Mongols pretty much behaving themselves for quite a long time. And the reality is right now that there are 4 times as many border walls in the world today as when the Berlin Wall was torn down. And most of the new walls have been built to try and hold back the tide of the migrants who are being told by George Soros and his people, if you can get into these countries, there's free stuff for you. There's going to be chocolate, and there's going to be cars, and there's going to be apartments, and there's going to be cable TV, and you're going to be able to go on out and just, grab all the women that you want, or the men if that's what your interest is. And right now, there are 65 walls either completed or under construction. Russia just built a border wall between Crimea and Ukraine. It looks very effective. They built it very quickly, and apparently it cost under $3 million. So I think Trump ought to be talking to those contractors for his wall. Now, interestingly enough, we have talked before about how much public lands have been taken over by the federal government over the last several years, and whether they really had the authority to do that under the Enclave Clause. But regardless of whether it's legal or not, they've got the land. About 28% of all the land in the United States is now owned by the federal government. As it turns out, Donald Trump has the authority to sell that land. And he could probably raise $25 billion selling some of these federal lands for private development, and $25 billion would finance the entire wall all across the entire southern border, not just that little installment that everybody's fighting over. Now, we're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just rejoining our network. And getting on back here. As you know, when the brand new Senate came on in, one of the first things they talked about, well, in fact, the very first bill they introduced was a bill to send more money to Israel and to attack the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. And they went on in there, and the optics on it were really bad because everybody was saying, look, you got a government that's partially shut down, you've got infrastructure problems, you've got all these other things going wrong with this country, and what's the first bill that you look at is something for Israel? What is wrong with you people? Well, apparently the Senate realized that yeah, it did look really bad. And so apparently Chuck Schumer is basically going to keep this bill from being debated or sent to the floor for a vote until after the government shutdown is over. So apparently enough people complained where Schumer said, yeah, this does really look bad that we're over here talking about helping Israel when there's so much wrong with our country. But as soon as the shutdown is over, it'll be business as usual. Israel, oh, Israel, oh, Israel, oh, stop complaining about broken sewer pipes. Okay, now, the Democrats are definitely out there kicking off the new Congress with their America Last legislation. They're attacking President Trump. They're attacking the Electoral College. They're attacking the Supreme Court. They're attacking voter ID. They're attacking free speech. They're all being targeted by the new Democratic House majority under Nancy Pelosi. And their primary argument is that the Electoral College does not represent the direct will of the people, which is precisely the point if you've read the Federalist Papers. The Electoral College exists so that you don't have huge states like New York, California, and Texas deciding for everybody else what the future of the country will be. That's the purpose of the Electoral College. And of course, the Democrats are against voter ID because they depend on illegal immigrant votes to keep in power. That's what switched California. California was solid red for decade after decade, and all of a sudden, just before the midterms, all these illegal immigrants and refugees are pouring in. They're going over to the DMV. They're getting registered to vote. Nobody's checking on it. And they were all moved into districts that were just slightly red, and now they're all just slightly blue. And the House lost, the GOP lost a lot of seats in California. They're changing the demographics. It's almost like the Democrats want to get rid of us regular American people and replace us all with these third world, easily controlled braceros, I guess, for lack of a better word. I mean, they're out there, pushing abortion and, evil white males and, white girls should get abortion and everything and just go away. At the same time, the borders are open and flooding in from the south. They're trying to demographically re-engineer our country into something that they can use to sustain their grip on power. Okay, now remember back when this whole Russiagate thing started up, there was a Russian lawyer, Natalia Valnitskaya, and she met with officials of Trump's presidential campaign in Trump Tower in 2016. She's now being charged by federal prosecutors in New York with obstruction of justice. And apparently they are claiming she attempted to sabotage the Justice Department's investigation into a case of money laundering by Prevzon Holdings. Now, my understanding that Natalia was there talking with Trump about the Magnitsky Act. Now, at that point, Trump looked like he had a good chance of winning, and already people were coming in to talk, not just to Trump, but they were talking to Bernie Sanders until it was obvious the nomination was going to be stolen from him. Then they were talking to Hillary. Everybody's trying to get in on the ground floor and say, this is what we want from the coming administration. And we can see what they're trying to do. They're going to grab this Russian lawyer. We're getting into this tit for tat. First of all, they grabbed this lady that they claimed was a spy. Then Russia grabs an American who they say is trafficking in arms. Now the Justice Department is hitting this lawyer with obstruction of justice. It's rather childish. In fact, it's on the verge of being a little bit pathetic. And of course, Natalia is denying any such thing ever happened. And they're just playing games. The country is going down the Al-Qaeda, and they're playing games. Ooh, let's get the Russians. Let's get the Chinese now. Let's get the North Koreans. We're just having fun in games over here. Meanwhile, Robert Mueller has been caught stealing evidence and abusing a court order. Now, a court order forced the cleanse in a criminal case created by Robert Mueller to provide the judge with information. The information was to be kept confidential, not be made public. Instead, Mueller stole the information, made it public, and used it in his joke of an investigation. Will he be investigated? Probably not. He violated a court order. Will he be suspended from the bar? Probably not. He's part of the deep state. It's good to be part of the deep state. You never go to jail. Nothing bad happens to you. Now, the corporate media during this government shutdown is bemoaning the fact TSA agents are calling in sick to work so that they can go out and find other jobs with which they can get paid. And I understand that reality. You got to take care of your family. But not a lot of people are missing the TSA officers. Certainly, I remember the one time when they drove Claire to tears. And we're old people. It's not like we look like terrorists or anything. I mean, I'll admit I'm annoying, irritating, and obnoxious, but I'm not a terrorist. So I went through and I went back and I found all these little stories that you ought to remember about TSA here. This is from ABC News. Convicted TSA officer reveals secrets of thefts at airports. And it says a convicted TSA security officer says he was part of a culture of indifference that allowed corrupt employees to prey on passengers' luggage and personal belongings with impunity, thanks to lax oversight and tip-offs from TSA colleagues. And I'd like to remind everybody that some butterfingered TSA clown up in Seattle dropped and destroyed a very expensive laptop. And did I get a new laptop from TSA? No. Did I get an apology? No. I was told to move along or I'd be arrested, which is why when I travel, which is not so much these days, I have this little antique netbook, and that's all I'll take with me. Another little story here. TSA agent gets caught stealing an iPad. Okay. Another one, TSA agent arrested for allegedly stealing cash from passenger's bag. Alexander Shea Johnson, 22-year-old TSA agent at Orlando International Airport, was arrested after he was caught on video stealing cash from a passenger's bag. Let's see, another little story here. This one from Russia Today. Ex-TSA agent, we steal from travelers all the time. Now, theft from travelers is pretty common. In fact, London's Heathrow Airport, the unions are so strong, you can't fire anybody no matter what they get caught doing. And the thievery from luggage there is so bad, locals call it Thief Row Airport. And I had something stolen from my luggage when I went through there. Let's see. A TSA agent convicted of stealing more than $800,000 worth of goods from travelers said this type of theft is commonplace among airport security. Almost 400 TSA officers have been fired for stealing from tourists. Okay, so I'm sorry the TSA agents are having to find new jobs to take care of their families, and my suggestion would be, why don't you stay there? Because you're certainly not welcome or wanted by the American people. Because in all this time, and all this groping, and all this fondling, do you know how many real terrorists the TSA has caught? None. Not one. It's a make-work program to take a bunch of people who probably couldn't find jobs anywhere else other than a fast food restaurant, give them a uniform and a sense of pride and a badge, and say, yes, you're helping America by fondling crotches. The other day we were talking about this sort of Nixonian, or Nixon-esque, if you will, false flag operation down in Alabama's special Senate election targeting Roy Moore. And it was a false flag propaganda operation to make it look like he was supported by Russia. Ooh, he's in league with the Russians. You couldn't possibly vote for this guy. He's a Russian. It turns out there was a second one. And there was a false flag campaign called Dry Alabama. And 2 weeks before the special election, there was this fake effort to sell the idea that if Roy Moore won the election, Alabama would bring back prohibition. That would become a dry state. Alcohol would be banned. Now that's real Richard Nixon territory here. People are still talking about Mitt Romney's scathing op-ed against Donald Trump, but it appears to have backflashed. And most people are looking at it for what it appears to be, which is a desperate attempt just to get his name in the press, to get his face in the media ahead of a possible 2020 presidential campaign. But it's a very negative impression that people got from this. And if Mitt Romney was trying to sell the idea that there was a new adult in the room to take charge of the children, he failed miserably. He showed himself to be just another child. Okay, you're going to love this one. And if you're standing up, sit down. This one is coming out of the Daily Mail in Great Britain. Apparently, Democratic leadership are seriously considering running Michelle Obama in 2020. Her only qualification, she has sky-high approval ratings. Now, she has no political background. She is denying she has any political ambition. But I got to tell you, President's School Lunch Program, The Democrats have got to be desperate. I mean, this is a joke. I mean, if Michelle were to run and win, it would basically advertise the fact the presidency is just a mask. It's a hollow shell. The real government is that deep state. The CIA, organized crime, the drug lords, all of that is actually running the country. And the civil government is really just for show, to reassure you, the American people, that things are going pretty much the way they ought to be, even if your life continues to deteriorate. It's the way it should be. Hey, you voted for this. Yes, we're slapping you upside of your face on both sides, but this is what you voted for, so don't complain. All right, getting on over to Democrat mega donor Ed Buck. A while back, about a year and a half, there was a dead male prostitute found in his home. Apparently drug overdose. It has now happened again. Is he going to be held to account? Oh, heck no. Of course not. He's a Democrat. We can't punish a Democrat just because he's killing off these black male prostitutes. We'll be right back.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge 20, 30, 40, 50, if possible, 100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. We'll plant 'em anywhere you like and blow up anyone. Whip this world into a frenzy, killing babies, dads, and moms. If you got the money, honey, we got the bombs. If If you got the money, well, we won't say we did.
And
The
aloha,
towers
America,
in
welcome
New
back
York.
to the show here. And yes, Republic Broadcasting does need your help and your support. We're in a very critical time in our nation's history. We are seeing so many people who are pushing for war. We are seeing the fact that President Trump appears to be losing control of the war hawks, which is what we, the people, voted him into the Oval Office to try and get under control. All those people who want to send your children off to die in foreign countries. Now, the corporate media's got huge amounts of money with which to lie to you. And those of us who are out here telling the truth, well, we're basically scrounging underneath the seat cushions for spare change. So even though we're past the holidays and past the Christmas and everything, we do still need your help, all of us. So the postal address where you can send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a debit or credit card donation or pledge to be a recurring subscriber is 800-724-2719, extension 1 during business hours, extension 3 at all other times. And folks, I can't tell you how serious this is. If we don't get some donations coming in here soon, we're going to have to sell our board operators for medical experiments. So, getting on back to the news and the war zones. Now, a while back, Donald Trump came on out and said, I'm bringing the troops home from Syria. And everyone went, huzzah, huzzah. Well, not everybody. The war hawks all started puking. And yes, it was one of his campaign promises. He's going to come bring the troops home. And then all of a sudden we get the pushback. And we've got Pompeo and Bolton out there saying, whoa, hang on just a second here. There really is no timeline. It's not going to be 100 days. And then finally Bolton came on out and said, this is all contingent on getting Turkey to promise they will leave the Kurds alone. Okay, well, Turkey is saying, no, we're not going to give you any assurances on the Syrian Kurds. They've been a thorn in our side here. So now Bolton gets to come on back and say, oh, well, we tried. I guess the troop withdrawal is off. We really meant well, but our troops are going to stay in Syria after all. So for all those troops in Syria who thought that you were coming home in the coming months, to the families of all those troops in Syria who thought they were coming home in the coming months, made you look. All right, we're going to take a phone call here. Oh, apparently he dropped. All right, well, be that way. See if I care. But interestingly enough, article over here in Mint Press News is saying that it does appear that Bolton set up this whole thing about making the withdrawal conditional on assurances from Erdogan about the Kurds, knowing it was going to fail. It was set up to fail in order to give flip-flopping Donald Trump to let him save face, saying, well, I wanted to bring them home, but it's Erdogan's fault. No, it isn't. It's your fault for not firing Bolton and Pompeo for doing what you tell them to do. Where is that aggressive, assertive management personality we saw on The Apprentice? Where if those contestants didn't do what they were supposed to do, they were out of there. Because that's what you've got on your hands here right now. Pompeo and Bolton are running foreign policy all by themselves. They're not clearing things with you. They're not implementing your decisions. Definitely time to start firing here. Interesting little article from Zero Hedge. Reasons to believe in Trump's Syria withdrawal are vanishing. Gee, you think? Behind it all, of course, is the alarming realization that the neocons have returned. We thought we were rid of them. We realized the neocons were behind the war agenda all the way back during the Bush administration. They kind of receded when Obama was president, but they were still out there on the outer edges, whispering in ears saying, don't you want a war? Don't you want a war? And when Trump came on in espousing extracting our country from all these foreign entanglements, everybody said, oh, good, it's going to be over. And then all of a sudden, the neocons are back in power as Trump's advisors. What the heck happened? I'm very disappointed in Donald Trump. I really am. The only way that I would ever support Trump in 2020 is if Hillary steps back on in. If Trump were running against Jack the Ripper, Jack would get my vote right now. What's really rather sad to look at is how hypocritical the liberals have become on foreign policy. We'll talk about that when we come back from these words from our sponsors. So stay tuned.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, J.R. Moore here. As most of you know, my regular listeners, I offer energy cleaners for sale at my website. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, go to my website, thelibertyman.com. Educate yourself about these marvelous healing devices. We focus on pain mitigation and getting a great night's sleep. Arthritis pain, joint pain, back pain, doesn't matter. Keep in mind, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. Energy cleaners, $285, shipping included to American zip codes. You can educate yourself all about the energy cleaner right there at my website, the patent application, the wonderful testimonials. Be sure and check out the factory-made fitted mattress pads to go with the energy cleaner. Now, I offer from me to you personally a 30-day money-back guarantee. That's what I do. I have a toll-free order line, or you can order it right at my website at thelibertyman.com. The toll-free order line is 800-592-9543. I say again, 800-592-9543. Thank you.
The First Amendment in the Bill of Rights limits the government's power by ensuring the freedom of speech and preserving the rights of the people. Every day that passes, our rights gradually slip away. It's time to take a stand and let the government know we're tired of losing our rights. LibertyStickers.com will allow you to express your rights and allow millions of people to see you stand up for what you believe in. LibertyStickers.com carries the largest selection of bumper stickers online, ranging from political to humorous, and is your #1 source for Ron Paul for President stickers. As always, you can find your favorite stickers that protest the war and the president. Don't see what you're looking for? Liberty Stickers will custom make stickers that will let you get your message across for all Americans to see. Go to LibertyStickers.com and see pre-made stickers that will get everyone talking. That's LibertyStickers.com, or call 877-873-9626. Liberty Stickers, the world's most dangerous stickers.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield tactical bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha America, welcome back to our show. And we just had a listener write on in and say the reason that we don't see that assertive, willing to fire people Trump from The Apprentice, it's all the feminists' fault because they've taken the man out of management. And all that's left is agement. They may be onto something here, I think. All right, so we're talking about the liberal foreign policy. And as I've mentioned many times before, when I was growing up, the stereotype was that it was always the Republicans that wanted a war. We've got to go to war. We've got to make our economy great again, or at least the part of the economy tied up with the military-industrial complex. And it was always the Democrats saying, maybe this is not such a good idea. And you would think that the liberals would be celebrating this idea of pulling American soldiers out of Syria and Afghanistan, given that they are failing endless wars. And especially as public awareness has been made, public awareness in the Pentagon Papers and the history of Vietnam has been revitalized by that movie, The Post, about how the government literally lied to us all for year after year. They knew they could not win in Vietnam, but they kept the war going because nobody wanted to stand up there and say, we lost this one. And so people are wondering, are we seeing that again in Syria and Afghanistan? Are young American lives being sacrificed on an altar of blood just for the vanity and ego of our leadership? And that's a legitimate question here. So you would think the liberals would be like, really, yeah, let's bring the kids home again. Oh, but they're not, because it's Trump who gave the order. And it seems like the liberals, who are just so caught up in their hate of President Trump, that they're right on board with the war hawks. Oh, no, we've got to stay there. We've got to stay there. Go on pouring American lives into these meat grinders here. We can't let Trump stop it just because it's Trump. And that's how partisan American political discourse has become. In fact, it's worse than partisan. It's tribal. We are now looking at tribes. There's the Republican tribe and the Democratic tribe, and they're brandishing their spears and they're waving their clubs around. That's how bad it's getting. Okay, we have a caller on the line, Patrick in California. Aloha, Patrick. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Good afternoon, sir. I enjoy your show. What's on my mind is the First Amendment. Putting bumper stickers on cars it's beyond that. We're beyond that point. I've done that before, and I put 9/11 as an inside job. Bumper stickers on my cars. I've been followed around. Shady characters.
Yeah.
New World Order characters and stuff, and it's unbelievable. It's annoying. It's got to stop. We're beyond that point. I'm in eastern part of the valley.
Yeah. Yeah, I know exactly where you are. I used to live there.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
yeah.
Well, we're seeing, we've reached a point right now where people who put certain bumper stickers on their car, the car will get vandalized. And this is like real brown shirt kind of behavior that we're seeing, not just here in the United States, but we're starting to see it in Europe, and we'll be talking about that more a little bit later.
It's connected to the Democratic Party and specific. It's unbelievable, and billionaires are involved, and
yes, they're funding all of this. And it's not just the Democrats. Yeah. You've got the open border people on both parties. You've got we've reached a point where we have lost the ability to have a polite, respectful discussion on politics, and now people are just screaming at each other. And when they go past the screaming, they're attacking each other. Remember how Hillary supporters were behaving after she lost the election in 2016? They were rioting all over the place. They were trashing cities, even in cities where Hillary had won. They just were completely, totally out of control. And unfortunately, that kind of behavior is being encouraged right now.
it's a behavior that should be labeled as Marxist communist behavior. That's what it is. You can't call it Democratic Party anymore. These are Marxists.
I call it brown shirt. It's brown shirt behavior, or it's thuggism, and this is not what America is supposed to be like.
No, and also, you know, when you're voting, they know who you voted for. So I voted for Donald Trump. I'm not going to lie. And I'm sort of proud of it, I guess. But for the most part. But it's complicated. And they know. And luckily
well,
I haven't been...
Patrick, I need to back up here a little bit. Nobody is supposed to know who you vote for. Okay?
But when you wear that... I wore that Make America Great Again hat with the Army.
That's going to tell them. That's going to tell them who you voted for.
But it's a First Amendment. That's what I'm saying. We're beyond that point. I can't wear that anymore. I don't deal with it. It's just yeah.
Well,
you got to fix that.
I understand your concern, and if you feel that you want to give in to the intimidation, you know, certainly that is your choice here. But fortunately, there are a lot of people who are standing up. They're starting to gaze avariciously at those yellow vests over at the hardware stores. And I just almost feel like we're close to this eruption of ordinary, law-abiding American people finally standing up and saying, we've had it with these loony lefties and these Antifa thugs and all the Black Lives Matter people, you know, smashing up our communities. We've had it with the migrants coming on in and demanding that we remake our towns into just what they left behind. We want our America back. In fact, Trump ought to Trump ought to campaign on that in 2020, bringing America back.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I came from Iran. I came legally here, and
good for you.
And the reason it's like, thank you. The reason it's like this is because illegals. The First Amendment's been my First Amendment is being violated because of illegals. There's too many of them here, not only coming from the border, but with visas and just coming from Chile and everywhere else.
Well, if they have visas, they're not illegals.
That needs to be taken care of.
If they have visas, they're not illegals. But yeah, it is a
They come and stay. They come and stay, and they don't leave. They own houses and brand new cars and really good jobs. That's the fact.
Well, there are going to be some immigrants who are going to come into this country legally, and if they've got visas, they're legal. Now, if you're saying they're staying past the expiration on their visa, that definitely is a problem. But I know everybody's
That's what they're doing.
Everybody's focus right now is on the idea of the wall. The real problem is that the immigration laws, as they are on the books today, are not being enforced, and that too is another failing I put right at the feet of the President of the United States of America. He doesn't really need that wall. He just needs to enforce the law, which, by the way, if you read the Constitution, that's his job. That's what the executive branch does. It executes the law of the land. And Donald, you better go back and bone up on Title VIII, because you're slipping on this one.
I've gone on a like I did something dumb, like go on a road trip to Mexico, you know, car road trip, and yeah, we definitely need the wall. I'm telling you, bro, we need the wall. Look, I went to look. Mexico is a wealthy land, bunch of natural resources, just unbelievable place. It's beautiful, but the people, it's a hellhole. There's crosses all over the place. The whole the experience that I had was I felt like I was in hell. So I couldn't wait to hop over, you know, drive over come over, and I just couldn't wait to come back to America, because that place is hell. It's literally it feels like hell.
It's unfortunate.
Hell is when you're
okay. My turn, Patrick.
The wall.
Patrick, my turn. Mexico has unfortunately fallen victim to drug corruption of their entire government up to its highest levels. We're getting, well, same as we have here in the United States of America. I'm old enough to remember when it was safe to go down to Mexico, go down to Ensenada, places like that. And I began to realize it was going through a change during my first marriage when, and this is way before my political career, I took my first wife down to this resort called Losadas near Guadalajara. And if you remember Bo Derek's movie 10, that exotic resort, that's Losadas. But we were met at the airport, put on this bus with bars on the window, driven through a security gate into the resort. And as we got off the bus, they said, you need to understand, do not go outside that fence. I mean, and driving through Guadalajara was an eye-opener, I have to tell you. And I don't know what Tijuana is like today. My memories of Tijuana, and granted this is like 30 years ago, it was a fun place. And I really enjoyed going down there. Anyway, Patrick, we're going to let you go and get back to the news. Thank you for the phone call, and welcome to the United States of America. I hope we are not too much of a disappointment. Getting on back to Syria, apparently al-Sham is extending further in the Idlib de-escalation zone. So it looks like the de-escalation zones really didn't work out all that well. And apparently units of the Russian military police have started patrolling the surroundings of the northern Syrian city of Manbij in the Aleppo governorate. So it looks like they've pretty much cleaned that out as well. Now, the Syrian army has arrived in the northwestern provinces to repel the Nusra attacks. These are additional forces of the Syrian Arab army arriving at Idlib, Aleppo, Hama, and they're ready to basically take on the terrorists from the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham group. Now, this is getting rather interesting because you need to understand that one of the excuses that's been given to basically override Donald Trump's desire to pull the troops out of Syria is that we must stay until ISIS is gone. Well, ISIS is pretty much all but gone. And that's the reality. And Trump was absolutely correct when he said, we lost Syria long ago. It was actually lost before he even took office. And again, this gets back to the scandal that was revealed by the Pentagon Papers. And if you have not seen the movie The Post, you need to. First of all, it's a well-made movie. Tom Hanks is great in it, and it's telling an important piece of American history that you probably will not be taught if you go to school, especially under Common Core. But that was the big scandal. That's why it was such a shock. The American people realizing the government knew for years they would never be able to win in Vietnam, but they kept pouring the money and, more importantly, young American lives into the jungles of Vietnam because none of the presidents wanted to stand up and say, we lost. That was it. Ego and vanity run amok. Is it happening again in Syria? Yeah. Is it happening again in Afghanistan? Appears to be. All righty, we have another caller, Jim in New York. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yes, sir. I'd just like to know where you held your prestige in Magic Mountain. You got in. You got in.
Well,
that's it.
That's a long time ago.
That's
a long time ago.
That's got to be the most beautiful thing.
It was a lot of fun, and it's an interesting sociological cultural experience to work at an amusement park as opposed to simply go on in and be there. And during the period between when I left college and was firmly established in visual effects, I did, continue my magic career at many of Southern California's parks, and I got to work at a lot of them. And at Magic Mountain, when you're part of an entertainment group, you get moved around a lot. Obviously, when the park is first opening, you're out by the main gate. Then you'd go back on over and you'd work someplace else. The only place I recall firmly spending a lot of time was Spillikin Corners, which was this recreated kind of country village, and it had just opened up. And they had candle makers and a candy factory and a blacksmith shop, a real working blacksmith shop. And in between my show sets, I went on over there and I sandcast a handle for a walking stick, which I still have to this very day. And it was a great. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun there. And,
yeah. No,
Then
no.
I got
It
tapped.
was,
Then
I was a percussionist for
what?
Rudy, who played in Magic Mountain. And I heard you speak about Magic Mountain, and I'm assuming that you were good enough to go to Magic Mountain.
Well, I did work
Were
there.
you?
I worked there 2 summers, and at the end of the second summer, I got about 2/3 way through the summer, and I actually landed a job on my first feature film as a production assistant on this easy-to-forget film called Skate Town, USA. And that was
Dear
my
God.
doorway,
Dear God.
and I got on in and started.
Dear God, you got to make a film about this. Dear God, you have to make a film about this. I heard you talk about it.
It's
You
a
spoke about
very interesting experience. I worked at
real
Magic Mountain. I worked at Busch Gardens, which isn't there anymore. Got torn down. There was a tax dispute. And
Can
not
I ask
very
you this
fun.
honestly? Did you play at Magic Mountain?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. That's all I need to know.
I was a street
Because
entertainer. I was a street entertainer.
Nobody. The invitations to Magic Mountain are, very, very few people get this privilege.
Well, you have
Like,
to audition
yeah.
like anybody else and prove that you can get on out there and entertain the public. Anyway, listen, got to let you go. The phone lines are loading up. We're going to switch to Joe in Tennessee. Joe, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, I don't know if you heard about this guy, Ed Buck, out there in California.
Oh, yeah.
This guy, he's got a perversion where he likes to inject black homosexual men at his big ritzy house with methamphetamines and then dominate them. And he killed somebody like a year ago, and he didn't get any jail time or nothing. There were drugs all over the crime scene where this poor black guy died.
Yep.
And now he just murdered another guy. And, just in the good, tradition of the Democrats with Jim Jones and John Wayne Gacy, you have another serial killer who's a Democrat, and he's in a Democrat state. And besides being a Democrat, he's a homosexual and a liberal and big donor. So, of course, he can murder at will. I mean, this is very sick.
It is.
And
Joe, I got to let you go. Joe, I got to let you go. Sorry, we got a commercial break. We'll be right back.
Do you or a loved one suffer migraine headaches? Listen to what scientist Kurt Hendricks has to say.
35 million people in the United States suffer with debilitating migraines. If you or a loved one are one of them, you need to know about MigraLief. Hi, I'm Kurt Hendricks, the scientist that formulated and patented the MigraLief migraine formula. MigraLief is a non-prescription dietary supplement recommended by neurologists, pharmacists, and pediatricians to address nutritional deficiencies in both adults and children over 2 with migraines. Try MigraLief for 3 months and see the powerful difference it can make in your life, or get your money back, no questions asked. Go to MIG911.com or call 800-MIG-7354. You can change your life today.
So if you suffer from migraines, don't wait. Call 800-MIG-7354. That's 800-MIG-7354. Or visit MIG911.com.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. It really does work like the review says it does. I cannot believe that after the first few days, I didn't feel as sluggish or clogged up. It has had a profound impact on my physical, emotional well-being. I'm skeptical as most people about products and their claims, and I never write reviews, but this is a wonderful product and I recommend it to everyone. Great product. It has brought my blood pressure from the mid-150s over the 80s to the mid-130s over mid-80s, along with diet and exercise in just the past couple of months. Excellent. Thank you, David. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. Join Mike on the air. Call toll-free 800-313-9443. 800-313-9443.
And Aloha America, welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Art off the grid. Aloha, Art. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Mike, I'm kind of curious. Listening to our local talk radio station today, there was somebody that called into one of the, I believe it was Rush Limbaugh, and had made statements that he had commented that he was reading an article, and I haven't been able to find the article, so I'm kind of wondering if you've heard anything about this, that 1/3, according to this article that he's from talking about, it says that 1/3 of all women and young girls are raped in the caravan, all these caravans moving from South America on up. According to this article, it says that 1 in 3 girls and women are raped or molested. Have you heard anything about that? And if you had, doesn't that say a little something about the kind of people that the Democrats want to let in here?
Well, that's been a problem all along, where you've got criminal elements coming across the border, and it is presumed that Donald Trump is going to be addressing that issue tonight during his speech. In fact, we're even getting word that he may declare a state of emergency during his speech tonight. And that's going to leave Pelosi and Schumer with pretty much nowhere to go at this particular point.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm looking forward to, I think that speech is at 8 p.m. Eastern, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong, so if I'm wrong, please correct me. But I'm definitely interested in hearing what Trump's got to say about this, although I don't think he's going to do anything. But we need to remember, folks, if this wall is not built come election time, we need to keep things like this in mind. 1/3 of all women and children are being raped or molested on their way up through here, giving concern as to just exactly who the Democrats want to let in here. We've got to remember this. We've got to drive this into people's heads, because it's the only way we're going to stop this. As far as how do we deal with Trump, I'm still trying to figure that one out. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. And again, I think that's at 8 p.m. this evening. If I'm wrong, please correct me. And you have a great day, man.
All right, thank you. I believe it is 9 p.m. Eastern. And if I sound a little bit distracted here, it's because, as I said before, we're on our new audio system, which is working at the RBN end. But unfortunately, at my end, there's a bit of a sound imbalance going on out over YouTube, and I am trying to correct it on the fly while we go to the show. All right, so coming up here on the top of the hour, you have probably been hearing about Trump's deal of the century. This is his solution to the Mideast crisis between Israel and Palestine and the rest of the Mideast. It's mostly being put together by Jared Kushner. It is totally one-sided in favor of Israel. Among other provisions that are in there is the Palestinians must surrender their right of return. That's a non-starter right there. And according to this article coming out of Middle East Monitor, there is a provision in there which requires the Arab states to pay Israel $250 billion, supposedly in compensation for Jewish properties left behind after the creation of Israel. When we come back from station identification, I'll tell you why that is a problem.
Did you know that neither the American Medical Association nor the American Bar Association were established to benefit the American people? Have you recognized that in our country, healthcare has little to do with health, and that our court system has nothing to do with justice? The priests of both medicine and law have been incentivized to implement a dark agenda on behalf of the Bilderbergers and their ilk. To protect ourselves and our progeny, we need to take a much closer look at how these two giant industries really work. Join me, Al Whitney, on In Defense of Humanity, Saturdays at 7 p.m. Central, as we expose the matrix and learn how not to consent to our own destruction.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero, because World War III is a really bad idea. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here, hour number 2. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443. And let's see. We talked. Did we talk to Art off the grid? Art, are you there?
Art dropped.
Art dropped. Okay. All right. So let's get back to the news here. Oh, that's right. We were talking about the U.S. peace deal. I have too many buttons to deal with here. And it's being promoted as the deal of the century, like that there's no reason why the Palestinians wouldn't go for it. But it's totally one-sided. It's everything that Israel wants. It really gives nothing to Palestine whatsoever. In fact, the strategy seems to have been to cut more and more funding to Palestine to get them into a state of starvation to the point where they'll sign anything just to get a hot cheeseburger. And part of that deal of the century includes compensation by Arab states to Israel of $250 billion with a B dollars to compensate for Jewish property left behind after the creation of Israel. That's the deal killer. Now, Israel has never compensated anyone for the land they took to create Israel, even with the United Nations saying they are obligated to. In fact, one of the conditions of Israel's membership at the United Nations was to compensate the displaced Palestinians for the homes and villages that they lost. And Israel has never done that. So you want to talk about a double standard and hypocrisy where Israel can just steal the land and not pay for it, and then they turn around and say, well, we demand that you give us all this money, for what's going on over there. So the deal of the century is pretty much dead. And there we are. Okay, getting used to the new system here. It has now been 10 years since the first major military assault on the 2 million Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. And you really ought to take a look at it in Google Earth. It's not a big piece of land. Now, back in 2005, Israel withdrew from Gaza and said, in our generosity, you can have Gaza. You Palestinians can have the Gaza Strip. Now, this was back during Ariel Sharon's term in office. And the reason Sharon did this is there was a quid pro quo. And he basically said that Israel would give the Palestinians the Gaza Strip, and in exchange, the world would ignore the building of illegal settlements on the occupied West Bank. That was the deal. And all the way back then, I made the prediction that as soon as those settlements were facts on the ground, and that Israel was in control of that West Bank in all but name, that they would start pounding on Gaza in an effort to drive out the Palestinians and take that back. Because it's shoreline property. It's got a certain certain value to it. So 10 years ago, they started Operation Cast Lead. They just went in and just killed a lot of people. And since then, they have turned the Gaza Strip into the biggest open-air prison on Earth. And the life of the Palestinians in Gaza is just unending brutality. The other day we were talking about how there was the beginning of a coup d'etat in Gabon, and how American forces had conveniently arrived in Gabon just a few days before it happened. Well, American forces or not, the coup d'etat has now failed miserably, and I imagine the Americans are on their way back home. As for those in Gabon who tried the coup d'etat, I have a feeling they're in for a very, very rough time. Over in the China Sea, the South China Sea, the United States has sent an Arleigh Burke guided missile destroyer, the USS McCampbell, on another so-called freedom of navigation operation, sailing right up to the 12 nautical mile international boundary of the Paracel Island chain. And according to Pacific Fleet spokeswoman Rachel McCarr, the operation was not about any one country or to make a political statement. Oh, of course it is. And China has lodged stern representations over the action. Ministry spokesman Lu Kang told a regular briefing the U.S. operation had violated China's law and urged the U.S. to stop such actions. It's a provocation. It's okay. And here's where we're beginning to see that our government has become badly factionalized, and different people are pushing different agendas. Because obviously you've got economists and Trump who want to get over this trade war, and they want to be friends with China. Then you have part of the war hawks are out there saying, yeah, we're going to support Taiwan's bid for independence, no matter how angry it makes China. And then you have over here the Navy and the Air Force, well, basically the Pentagon, constantly brushing up against China's territorial waters to annoy them. We're going to do a shout out now to our Honor affiliates who are just rejoining our network. Now, I got some email from some people saying, well, as long as the U.S. ships are in international waters, who really cares? And you need to take into account the cultural sensibilities of different people, especially Asians. And I'll give you a good example of why what the U.S. is doing to China should be viewed with concern. And it all goes back to 1940, or the end of 1940, when a lieutenant commander at the Office of Naval Intelligence, Arthur H. McCollum, came up with an 8-step plan to provoke Japan into attacking the harbor, Pearl Harbor, here on the island of Oahu. It's right out that window over there. And one of the provocations that he wrote in this memo that was followed by President Roosevelt was to constantly sail U.S. warships back and forth along the Japanese coast. Yes, in international waters. And to the Americans, they'd say, you know, big deal. But to the Japanese, it was a horrible insult because they considered it basically their side of the ocean. What are you doing over here? And the fact that you're on one side of a line on the map does not remove the fact that this is a horrible insult. And so it's happening all over again. That somebody somewhere within our military structure is trying to provoke China. Remember, we just had that new Pentagon official come on in and say, you know, the threat is China, 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 China. At the same time, they're trying to get that trade war taken care of. our government is suffering from multiple personalities, if you want the psychiatric term for it. Now, interestingly enough, Beijing invited North Korea's Kim Jong-un to a visit. And Kim Jong-un arrived yesterday at the express invitation of Chinese President Xi Jinping. This is his 4th summit with Xi, and the visit is expected to last from the 7th until the 10th. So it's on its 2nd day now. And they're not coming public with what the talking points are about, but it probably is in advance of the supposed 2nd summit in the works between Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump. All right, so let's talk about the economic news here. All righty, signals of a recession, 10% high yield spreads, and a key points, 1.5% Fed funds rate. The indicators are not looking good at all. Article out of Zero Hedge talking about how the U.S. pension system is in serious trouble and how the Federal Reserve in large part is responsible for bankrupting it. And they're talking about receding liquidity, reduced reward for reckless speculation, and risk-taking are beginning to play on out. And when you talk about risk-taking, quite an opposite. I mean, back in 2008, pension funds thought they were playing it safe getting into the mortgage-backed securities. And then they blew up. You think there's a lot of scammers here on the internet? Boy, you should try Wall Street. Now, this is an important development. The foreign minister of Germany is now out there saying that Europe needs its own interbank transaction system independent from the United States. This is coming from Foreign Minister Heiko Maas. And he's out there saying that it's indispensable that we strengthen European autonomy by creating payment channels that are independent of the United States. In other words, they want to break free of the SWIFT system, because as long as they are connected to SWIFT, U.S. sanctions against them can be enforced. If they disconnect from SWIFT, they've basically defanged the tiger. Over in Great Britain, auto sales have plunged 12% in 2 years. Diesels are in a death spiral. Everybody's cutting back. Businesses, fleets, consumers. Carmageddon has hit Great Britain. And if you know anything about Britain, away from the cities, out in the rural areas, they love their cars. I mean, that's why they had Top Gear. You could tell from Top Gear what car culture there is. Amazingly enough, there's a car culture here on Oahu. You know, there are all these shows for all these very carefully preserved and restored antique cars, and I keep thinking, what a bizarre place for a car culture. With all this salt air climate, everything acts like it's made out of compressed rust. But they're out there. They've got these beautiful, beautiful little cars. Getting on back to the economy, apparently a judge has thrown Sears chairman and ESL Investments founder Eddie Lambert a life preserver. Apparently he's got one more chance to rescue Sears from liquidation. This happened earlier today. The retailer has hoped to receive approval from a bankruptcy judge to proceed with liquidation after advisors rejected a $4.4 billion takeover bid from Lambert and ESL. However, according to CNBC, the judge sided with Lambert and ESL, who protested the move. Now, the judge is saying that ESL must make a $120 million deposit by tomorrow afternoon, which will allow its bid to take over the Sears the Sears retail operation against the liquidator offers. So what's going on here is that Eddie Lambert is the chairman of Sears. He's also founded his own investment company. He's trying to do a buyout of the company that he used to run. That's what's going on here. And now he's gone to the judge, and the judge is saying you've got till tomorrow to prove that you can walk your talk. So it's a bidding war between the liquidators and Eddie Lampert. And if Eddie Lampert wins, then Sears is going to remain open in some form. And if Eddie loses, Sears will go into immediate liquidation and stores will be closing all over America, including probably the one here at the bottom of the hill. Okay. Getting on to immigration and migration. Over in Italy, Salvini is keeping his campaign promise. He has reduced the number of migrant crossings by 80%. And because of that, Spain is now leading in the number of migrants crossing their territory than any other European country. Now, according to the border agency Frontex, 150,000 migrants entered European Union countries illegally in 2018. Spain's portion of those was double the previous years. And Italy has managed to get an 80% drop. So Italy is doing something right. Over in Germany, some very, very bad news, a bad indicator. Not too long ago, the headquarters for the Alternative for Germany party were bombed. And apparently, last night, the Bremen chairman of the Alternative for Germany party, Frank Magnitz, was attacked by multiple assailants, 3 assailants. They basically hit him with sticks, and when he was on the ground, they started kicking him. Fortunately, there was somebody nearby who chased the assailants off. And Frank is in the hospital, literally battling for his life. He's got a gaping wound in his head. So Germany, the home of brown shirt tactics. And it seems like we're in an era of wet work. Like that caller said, almost afraid to wear the Make America Great Again hat. Because we've seen, people are just wearing the hat. They get attacked. The hats get stolen. They get physically assaulted. We're past polite discourse, and we're into, I want what I want, and I'm willing to beat you up to get it. Whether it's Antifa or Black Lives Matter or these 3 mystery assailants or the people who vandalize cars with bumper stickers on them that they don't like. Over in California, as you know, pending this last election, Governor Moonbeam Brown is out, and Governor Gavin Newsom is the new governor of California, the 40th governor of California. He is even more far left than Jerry Brown was, and in his first speech came on out reaffirming California's sanctuary policy. In his inauguration speech, he said, "Sanctuary to all who seek it." Then he went on to basically trash President Trump, but without the profanity that we heard the other day. House Democrats are getting, well, as of today, they're introducing a bill criminalizing private gun sales. Of course, it's being introduced by Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Representative Mike Thompson, and gun control proponent Gabby Giffords. Oh, they want those guns. It's too much trouble to go after real criminals. It's too much, it's too politically damaging to wonder if maybe some of these mass shootings are tied in with pharmaceuticals. So we'll just go for the easy solution. We'll disarm everybody, and it'll be wonderful. And we'll feel safe in our homes with our guns and behind our walls, and everybody else will be outside the walls. And, if something does happen, then they can call 911, and, 20 minutes later, the police will be there to collect the bodies. Down in Florida, the police, exploiting their new red flag law, have already seized more than 450 guns. Now, this risk protection order was signed by Florida Governor Rick Scott. It strips a person's Second Amendment rights if a task force team and a judge believe it is warranted, meaning if the person shows any sign of being a threat to themselves or others. Now, the problem is that this task force team and the judge aren't with the gun owners. They rely on reports coming from people who know the gun owner, some of whom may bear animosity to him. A jilted girlfriend, an ex-wife, somebody who didn't get the promotion they thought they deserved. Basically, these red flag laws are handing to disgruntled American people an easy way to attack and harm those they don't like with impunity if they happen to be gun owners. Because it costs the person making the accusation nothing to get the guns removed. It costs the gun owner thousands of dollars in legal fees to get their guns back. So, speaking of gun grabbing, up in Chicago, the Democratic alderman Ed Burke, strong advocate of gun control, strong advocate. Oh yes, guns are bad. He's facing federal corruption charges, and when the FBI raided his ward office and his office in City Hall, they found 23 guns inside his offices, inside these government buildings. See, that's the problem with the gun grabbers. They want to take away your guns. They don't want to give up their guns. You know, they need their guns. They need to be protected from you, but, you know, your guns are bad. Their guns are good. We're going to take a break for some commercials, and we will be right back.
Many people tell us about their experience with Extendivite. Just listen to what Glenn has to say.
Prior to taking it, I had diabetic neuropathy. The Extendivite reduced that significantly. Acid reflux was reduced. I had athlete's foot, very severe. Trimmed that down to about 75%. Dandruff, almost completely gone. I had occipital neuralgia at the base of my skull. I was having migraines, reduced by about 90%. Heart palpitations, my heart would kind of stall out. I would skip a beat. Very uncomfortable. And when walking from downstairs going to sleep, by the time I got to the bedroom, which is just one flight of stairs, my heart was pounding, coming out of my chest. My vision was blurry. This completely solved that problem. Great product. Thanks.
Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now, but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
When all this twists
was swept away. Did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we have seen how the giant corporate social media like Facebook, Google, Twitter, YouTube are now imposing censorship on the American people. And cries about our First Amendment right to freedom of expression are being rebuffed by saying, well, these are private companies. They can do whatever they want. This is all coming from the same people who screamed bloody murder when a baker refused to make a wedding cake for a gay couple. So you can see how situational it is. But it sets a dangerous precedent, because whereas the government is constrained from intruding onto our rights, they're trying to establish the precedent that private corporations can. That private corporations, because they're private corporations, can in fact censor freedom of speech. And what else are they going to go after? Are they going to go after gun rights? Because you have all these banks that are now refusing to do business with gun makers and gun dealers. You have Dick's Sporting Goods basically going along with the push for gun control. And even though it's costing them money, they're going along with this. So where else could this happen? I mean, could they like say that anytime you go anywhere that's under corporate control, they determine what your life is, not the Bill of Rights? Now, I'm a purist when it comes to the Constitution. I think the Bill of Rights is an absolute. And I think one of the big problems that we deal with in our culture today, especially under liberalism, is that in destroying the idea of a sense of personal responsibility, it's almost creating this need for more draconian controls on our life, and that may be intentional. You raise a generation of people saying, oh, it's not your fault, whatever you're doing, you're a victim, just go on out and feel good. And then you start getting this erratic behavior, and then the government steps in and says, well, for your own good, we have to take away your right to privacy. For your own good, we have to take away your right to self-defense. For your own good, we have to, be in charge of what you say to each other. And that's how freedom dies. Now, down in Texas, remember Cody Wilson? He was the guy who came up with the 3D printed guns. And he ran this entity, Ghost Gunner Incorporated and Defense Distributed. And of course, the government came on in, made a big stink about the fact that he was just basically giving away these data files so that anybody with a 3D printer could manufacture these guns. Well, they couldn't get him to basically shut down, because it did come down to a freedom of speech issue, because he's not giving out guns, he's giving out data. And there really is no difference between the data for a 3D printer and, for example, a magazine that simply has pictures of guns. Or, if you prefer, blueprints of guns for those who know how to run machine tools. And so that went nowhere. So all of a sudden, Texas has indicted Cody Wilson for child sexual assault, and he's looking at 20 years in prison. And the charges supposedly involve a female child younger than 17 years of age, whom he is said to have solicited through the website SugarDaddyMeat.com. Now, frankly, I don't know Cody Wilson, but this is feeling like a setup. I mean, the domain name, SugarDaddyMeat.com. I don't care how old this female is or is not. If she's there and putting herself out there, she's the one who solicited. And it may not have been a child younger than 17 years of age. A lot of these websites that are out there are actually FBI fronts, where they'll have FBI agents posing as underage children, trying to lure people in. Now, apparently, Cody Wilson did visit the site. Dumb thing to do. So I don't know how real it is or not, but it wouldn't be the first time that charges were brought against somebody who was very unpopular in government circles in order to silence them. I remember one of the weapons inspectors in Iraq who was basically saying Saddam did not have nukes, and I'm blanking on his name right now, but he was hit with child sexual assault allegations. It is a taboo in our society. Everybody has a very visceral negative reaction to it. Even I do. But I also recognize that the timing is just a little too cute. And with so many other pedophiles around, why target this one guy? Anyway, I'm hoping that he is passing on his data and technology to those who will give it the proper care into the future that it warrants. All right, we're going to take another break for commercials. We'll be right back.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Homeowners, are you in foreclosure, expecting to be served with a foreclosure lawsuit, or suspect your lender has coerced you into an illegal mortgage transaction? A huge number of mortgages made in the last 10 years have legal issues and are possibly defective. State laws and the U.S. Supreme Court have upheld that defective mortgage documents are grounds for foreclosure defense and for counterclaims in favor of the homeowner. If your mortgage has been sold or assigned since closing the loan, it may be defective and you may be paying the wrong party, and the lender may not have standing or the right to foreclose or collect payments under the law. If you would like to know if your mortgage is legal or not, or know if you are paying the right party, we can help. Our initial consultations are free of charge. We are not attorneys. We are legal researchers and work closely with experienced lawyers who know how to help you find the evidence to help you keep your home. Call toll free 1-855-2-KEEP-IT. That's 1-855-2-KEEP-IT today.
Corporate media dominates the American opinion. Finding independent voices that counter this avalanche is becoming increasingly difficult. With the endless corruption running rampant throughout our government, independent voices are needed more than ever to battle the offensive against our freedoms and liberties. As a listener of RBN, no one understands this concept better than you. Now it's up to you to do your part. The time has come for you to take action and begin broadcasting the truth to hundreds or thousands of people every month. Sound impossible? Quite the contrary. With pointed slogans from LibertyStickers.com, you can reach countless sleeping Americans unaware that they live in a real-life wonderland. LibertyStickers.com has a huge inventory of political bumper stickers and messages that reflect the truth about our government, our politicians, and the future of America. With so many in stock, there's one perfect for you. Visit us today at LibertyStickers.com. Again, that's LibertyStickers.com. Do your part. Your voice is important. Let it be heard.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds, up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield Tactical Bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AROutfitting.com.
We the people, in order to form a more force ensure domestic tranquility. Provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here, and getting on back to the fact that Donald Trump is giving, it's actually going to be his first speech to the nation from inside the Oval Office, and it will be at 9 p.m. Eastern tonight. And over at the Political Insider, they are reporting that CNN's Don Lemon is now calling on all the networks to put the president's speech on time delay so that they can bleep out anything they feel is propaganda. Talk about the arrogance of the corporate media, and then you wonder why Donald Trump has such animosity toward them. That's just insane. No, thank you, Don. I want to listen to the president's speech without you deciding what I can and cannot hear. Okay, we got a caller on the line. Jim in Chicago. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hello, Michael. The person that you could not remember his name is Scott Ritter, and he did plead guilty for trying to seduce some young girls.
Well, he may have decided they may have made a deal, say plead guilty and we'll give you a slap on the wrist, or plead not guilty and go bankrupt with the legal fees. You need to understand that not everybody who pleads guilty in a case is actually guilty. They're simply taking the path of least resistance. Now, I don't know Scott Ritter, and maybe he did it, and if he did, he's a sicko. But we see these kind of allegations and accusations being used to destroy people who have become inconvenient for the government.
I would agree with that, but in Scott Ritter's case, he did spend time in prison in upstate New York.
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing, what is wrong with Trump? Now, you got these guys like John Bolton, the Secretary of State, doing things behind his back. I mean, if someone was doing that to me, they would be fired in a heartbeat.
Exactly. I don't know what's going on. We're hearing that Bolton and Pompeo are out there just pursuing their own agendas. They're not running any of this past Trump. He's supposed to sign off on all of this. He's the boss. And I don't understand why Trump, really is not taking a firmer hand with his own government. He worked very hard to be the president of the United States of America. I wish he'd be the president of the United States of America, because right now I am just completely disappointed in him. He's just letting the ship of state, run on its own course before the wind. And, that's a good way to run it up on the rocks.
Well, not only that, though, where's the chief of staff? Shouldn't he say something?
I agree. Maybe he is saying something and the corporate media is refusing to report it. We've got all these different layers surrounding the president. You've got his inner circle of advisors. They don't want information going in or out. You've got the White House staff. They don't want information going in or out. Probably been told they'll be fired. Then you've got the corporate media surrounding all of that. They don't want information going in or out. They want Donald Trump effectively deaf, dumb, and blind. And they want you, the American people, to just go along and go on back to being in the Matrix.
Right. Well, again, to the American public, nothing is going to be accomplished this year. And, Michael, I'm going to let you go on that note. Take care and God bless.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. And getting on back to the news here. As you know, more and more states who apparently have nothing better to do are passing these laws or rules or requirements requiring that anybody who gets a state contract has to sign an oath of loyalty to Israel. And I find that objectionable, not that I'm in a position to sign a state contract, at least since I left UH Manoa. But I have room in my heart for only one loyalty, and that is the United States of America. So over in Arkansas, there was this newspaper, and they basically were involved in some state contracts. I think it was actually up in Massachusetts. and they were being told, you will not get this contract unless you sign this loyalty oath, or actually, if you don't sign the contract and we still decide you get, or if you don't sign the loyalty oath and we decide you still have to get the contract because there's nobody else, we're going to cut your fees by 20%. So the Arkansas newspaper has gone to court saying that this is clearly a violation of the First Amendment, our right of free speech, and boycotts are a recognized form of peaceful protest protected by that First Amendment. I'll tell you right now, this is going to go all the way to the Supreme Court, and I have a hard time thinking that this Supreme Court is going to carve out an Israel exception to the First Amendment. Of course, our government has become so corrupt, it might. I remember how Justice Roberts did that 180 flip on Obamacare. So these days, almost anything is possible. But I'm in agreement. Israel is on the warpath against our First Amendment right to freedom of expression, our right to express our concerns over the behavior of a government, anywhere on the face of planet Earth. And no, criticism of Israel's government is not anti-Semitism. That's like saying that the only reason people bitch about the Nazis is they hate the German people. All right, we're going to take another phone call. Steve Elkins. Aloha, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Michael, question on tonight's conference, whatever, Trump's speech tonight to the people. If the media has already spoken out and said we will censor it or, basically cut and paste here of what they like, would he not have the authority somehow? I'm not sure how it would go about this, but, the media's job is to report what the president says.
Correct.
And if they decide to censor it or script it or whatever they want to their liking for their agenda, how hard would it be for President Donald Trump, to nationalize the media so he could report what he wants to report on and not have the bias in the media always working against him? How hard would it be tonight if he came out and basically spelled it and said, I'm being threatened and this, and really just hammer on them, the people that are imposing their agenda and using threats and everything towards him? How hard would it be to nationalize the news information that the president could actually have a news conference and they would have to carry it, or some other agency would have to carry the entire without scripting it?
Well, first of all, Don Lemon at CNN, this is just a suggestion, and I don't think the networks are going to go along with it, because unless there is a unified control room, people might be blipping out different things, and it's going to be very obvious that's what they're doing. I don't think the American people are going to go along with letting the TV networks interpose themselves between the president and the American people. So I don't think it's going to actually happen. As far as Trump nationalizing the news, it would be a political disaster, because even though we know the corporate media serves corporate and deep state political interests, it exists in this illusion of independence from the government, going all the way back to the Founding Fathers, and again reaffirmed by that Nixon versus the Post and the Times decision during the Pentagon Papers. So I don't think that would be a very, very good move. I think Trump ought to be setting up his own media. Trump ought to have his own video server, and people ought to stop watching the corporate news and turn on over to Trump TV or whatever they're going to call it. If Trump is very smart, he'll have his speech carried live on Twitter, on his Twitter feed, and people will just tune in there and get it all. But for Don Lemon to actually go public and say, we, the corporate media, should time delay the president to make sure he doesn't propagandize the American people, shows just how arrogant and out of control the corporate media have become, which is kind of surprising. I don't think they would be all that arrogant when you consider how their ratings are sinking. People are turning them off.
I agree. I was just curious about that because, another thing, I feel at his Twitter, whenever he does his little tweets, I feel that's being used against him. If I was him, I would suggest not using Twitter anymore, because I think he's giving them the ammunition. I think the best strategy for Donald Trump would be to not give them anything, keep them completely in the dark. Every time he puts a tweet out there, they seem to use that against him. I would put these people in the dark, not give them anything, and then maybe come out and do a press conference, talk to the people, fireside chat, let them know what's going on, but just keep them in the dark completely. No more Twitter tweets. Just keep them in the dark.
Well, that would be, I don't know that shutting off of Twitter would necessarily work. I wish his tweets were more presidential. But if Trump just sort of pulls back and keeps them in the dark, then the corporate media is just going to go wild with whatever speculation they want. Trump needs to keep his visibility before the American people. Because if he's not out there reminding everybody who the real Donald Trump is, the corporate media is going to cook up some other kind of an illusion. And we don't want to see that happen. So the bringing back the fireside chat, I think that's a great idea. And maybe Trump could arrange to do that through NPR, which lives on government grants, so they're going to be less likely to try and say, we need to time delay you and have an anti-propaganda button. But I think if I were CNN's management right now, I'd be thinking about firing Don Lemon, because he's just destroyed the credibility of CNN as a news reporting organization, and basically admitted they're there to filter what you, the American people, see and hear. It's even worse than Pravda and Izvestia.
Appreciate it.
All right, thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. Okay. Now, for those of you following the case of Mumia Abu Jamal, he has won a major court victory. He has now basically been granted the right of appeal or a retrial, and it may be prosecutors will just dismiss the charges against him. Now, this guy has been in prison for 30 years for the murder of a police officer, and basically virtually everybody looking at this case is saying this guy got railroaded into prison simply because he was a Black Panther. And the reason the Superior Court Judge Leon Tucker ruled in favor of Mumia was that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court Judge Ronald Castile demonstrated a lack of impartiality and the appearance of bias during that trial, and judges aren't supposed to do that. Lack of impartiality, any bias is in fact grounds for an appeal. So good for Mumia. I'd like to see him get on out of there. I'd like to see Leonard Peltier get on out of there. He was railroaded as well. There's a documentary out there done by the Sundance Institute called Incident at Oglala that talks about that whole Leonard Peltier affair. There's a Val Kilmer movie, Thunderheart, which is kind of loosely based on all of that. It's my favorite Val Kilmer movie. Okay, let's go back to the phones here. Dustin in New Jersey. Aloha, Dustin. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
That was also one of my favorite movies, Mike. Thunderheart was a great flick. Nobody saw that. You better go out and watch that.
Yep.
Yeah, he was real, and he was good in Heat too. That movie Heat.
I don't know that I actually caught Heat, but if it comes around, I'll make a point of seeing it. But I do like Thunderheart.
Mike, will the real Donald Trump please stand up? We talk about this all the time. Like, Trump is the president of the United States. He has the ability to hire and fire these people. You know, it's his. The buck stops with Trump. Like we got. I mean, you can yell at Bolton and Pompeo and all these other fools, but Trump is the commander-in-chief. He has the ability to build the wall. He has the ability to fire these people and hire who he wants, but he's not doing it. And, Mike, I heard that this tonight he's not going to announce a national emergency, and it's going to be less than 10 minutes long, and I heard the wall went from steel, now it's going to be paper mache.
Or a beaded curtain here. Okay, well, we need to be clear here. He's not talking about a national emergency. He's talking about a state of emergency, and that's two different things. National emergency, then you're talking about suspending the Constitution. I don't think he's going to do that. Yeah, we are being told his speech is going to be just 8 minutes long, where he's going to lay out the case for why we need to close that southern border. If he is going to declare a state of emergency and say, I'm building the wall, 8 minutes is all he needs. And if he does that, then he's going to pull the rug out from underneath Schumer and Pelosi, whose only leverage against him is continuing the government shutdown. And if Trump finds other resources to build the wall with, then there's no more point for Pelosi and Schumer to stall on the government shutdown. Trump's going to dump the blame for that on them. Have you noticed the corporate media? It's always Trump's shutdown. It's Trump's shutdown. No, it isn't. It's Pelosi and Schumer's shutdown. They're the ones who are being intractable. They are the ones who are refusing to protect our southern borders because they need those illegal immigrants to hang on to power. Anything else, Dustin?
Yeah, and Mike, I just want to say, as we're twiddling our thumbs here with the dying empire, you know, Putin was in India the other day, right, making deals with Modi.
Yes.
I don't know if you heard this, that they working on a Caliber M that goes up to 4,500 kilometers range. That's all I got to say, Mike.
Impressive. All right. Well, Dustin, thank you very much. We're going to let you go. Getting on back here, over in North Carolina, a little bit of good news. The North Carolina legislature had passed a bill requiring voters to show voter identification at the polls. It was vetoed by Democratic Governor Roy Cooper. And fortunately, the North Carolina Senate had the votes to override the veto. So it will now be a law. Voter ID is now a reality back in North Carolina. Good for North Carolina. And I'm sure they're going to come under attack and say, oh, you're being racist for not letting illegal immigrants vote in the elections. Illegal immigrants are not entitled to vote in American elections. Only Americans. U.S. citizens or naturalized citizens, people who are here legally, like that gentleman from Iran who called the show earlier, they are allowed. We are allowed to vote. People who just step across that border, no, they don't get to vote in our elections. Because what are they going to do? They're going to vote themselves our country. That's the ultimate danger. We'll be back after these few words.
Tired of being lied to by mass media? It's growing more and more apparent today that news is received less and less through standard media outlets. Even with a growing audience every day, RBN is beginning to direct more efforts into social media. Social media and the use of the internet is fast becoming the primary source of people for news, regardless of demographic. RBN has set out to provide some of the best news on the internet through republicbroadcasting.org, and also has begun to use the tools to our advantage by way of social media. Republic Broadcasting is now operating a Facebook page to function as yet another avenue to have our collective voice reach new audiences across not only America, but across the globe as well. The Facebook page features not only news, but also an RBN player to listen to our broadcasts. Get involved by visiting facebook.com/Republic Broadcasting and liking our page and share it with your friends and family, because you can handle the truth.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you a few from Amazon.com. By Mel. Great product. My husband and father-in-law use it regularly. Both my husband and father-in-law have had significant change in their blood pressure and overall health. By Amazon customers. It works for me. Returned to buy the tincture and the capsules as they were on sale during February. Unlike some other products, this one worked for blood pressure and occasional irregular heartbeat. Extendivite produced noticeable results after just 2 bottles, a 4-month supply. I take Extendivite 3 times a day, every day. I think this supplement has helped with my increased fitness regime and to lower my blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite. Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we're going to take a phone call from Robert in London. Aloha, Robert. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Mike. Hello, hi. Yes, several days ago, probably obviously last week, I was listening to my YouTube blogs on a regular basis, and of course I was falling asleep while the automatic YouTube listing was playing the next round of blogs. And of course, YouTube gives you the next media that they want you to get into. And I was half asleep, and I heard Chuck Schumer being interviewed, and he said, "Yes, one of the reasons why Trump shouldn't build a wall is because you can't look over the top of the wall. You can't look over the wall to see what the migrants are doing." I thought, what kind of joke is that? You know, you can't look at, if you build the wall, you can't look over the top and see what other people are doing on the other side.
Well, the current design of the
what a
wall
joke is
are
that?
these steel slats that you can look right through.
Yeah, I know,
And,
exactly,
you know,
I know.
we expect the wall's going to have TV cameras on it, but I mean, right now, Schumer and Pelosi they're thrashing about trying to find anything that they can get traction with to get the American people to say, "Oh no, leave our southern borders wide open. We love our illegal immigrants. We love scabies, and we love Ebola, and we love bubonic plague and everything else."
Absolutely. I know. I thought, what a huge joke that was. That was just beautiful, I thought. Anyway, that's it. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We're going to let you go. And getting on back to the news here. Up in Canada, there is a charity, the Jewish National Fund of Canada. It's a long-established charity, and apparently they are now in trouble. They are facing an audit from the Canada Revenue Agency over a complaint that it is using charitable donations to build infrastructure for the Israeli Defense Forces, which is a violation of Canada's tax rules. Now, the JNF does fund projects in Israel like reforestation efforts in areas hit by wildfires and construction of playgrounds, things like that. But apparently it's also been funding infrastructure projects on Israeli Army, air, and naval bases. Now, no law bars a Canadian citizen from writing a check directly to Israel's Ministry of Defense, but the rules do ban tax-exempt charities from issuing tax receipts for such donations. And it also bans donors from claiming tax deductions for them. So they're in a little bit of a kerfuffle up there. And it's a reminder, forget about the amount of money that you're told is going directly from the government to Israel. Israel gets a lot more than that from various so-called charities or fundraisers or other means. They're just siphoning the money out of this country like crazy. Getting on back to that issue about a loyalty oath to Israel. Well, we got to take another break here for station identification, and we will be right back.
The reviews for Extendivite are amazing. Here are some from Amazon. September 2018. Extendivite works in keeping my blood pressure in the normal range. I've been using Extendivite for many years now. May 2018. Great product. I use regularly and I rarely get sick. March 2018. This product has relieved what appeared to be angina pain in my chest and shortness of breath after climbing stairs. I'm quite happy about it. February 2018. My husband, son, and I have been using this product for a few months now, and we have noticed an improvement in our joints and blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822, or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
You're listening to Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. And we're going to go right to the phones here. We have Chris in Las Vegas. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, thank you so much, Michael. I was listening to your commentary about the obligation to take an oath to Israel to be able to work, which seems to fly in the face of the truism and the maxim of law that a house divided cannot stand. And this appears to be a strategy to divide to conquer America, to break down our nationality, and to put a foreign power as supreme ruler over this country. That seems to be...
I would agree with you on that last one, and it appears to be very close to being a reality. Certainly to look at Jared Kushner and his so-called deal of the century. But again, if we're going to have a Bill of Rights, we have to stand up and fight for them. And I'm glad that that newspaper is going to court. And apparently there's another similar situation over in Maryland, where Governor Hogan implemented this requirement for a loyalty oath to Israel by an executive order. Didn't go through the legislature. Nobody got to vote on it. The governor just said, I am the governor. You will bow down and swear loyalty to Israel. Mahi dictum est. And so...
Yes. Well, that is, in fact, the edict of a tyrant.
That's exactly
when
right.
They tell you what you're going to do. And this outrageous abuse of their discretion, putting themselves in a supreme authority as if they were a dictator-in-chief thief, much like Obama did, and ruling by legislative fiat, the mere will of the dictator being enforced on his underling people.
Oh, that goes all the way back to Clinton.
Absolutely. And this has got to stop. This culture war against Americanism is going to be the death of the country if people don't start standing up and resisting this tyrannical influence of foreign countries trying to tell us how we're going to run our American country. It's totally insane and diabolical. So thank you very, very much, Michael. I appreciate your letting me chime in today.
All right. Well, you got it. Thank you very much for the phone call. And, you know, I remember when I was in elementary school growing up, and we were constantly being told, you know, the Soviet Union, they're trying to subvert our government. They're trying to infiltrate us and subvert our government. And as it turns out, our government was being infiltrated and subverted. We were just being told to look in the wrong direction. Should have shifted our gaze a little bit further south. Okay, Ecuador, which is, as you know, is in economic difficulty, is considering a $10 billion bailout from the International Monetary Fund, but there are conditions, one of which is the handing over of WikiLeaks' Julian Assange. And former Ecuadorian President Rafael Correa tweeted an image of the letter he received from the State Comptroller General on December 19th, which outlines the upcoming examination by the Direction Nationale de Auditoria. And what they're doing is they're going back and they're saying that the process by which Julian Assange was granted asylum may not have followed the rules exactly. They're looking for an excuse to say, oh, turns out he's not a citizen and he's not legally been granted asylum. So we'll kick him out the front door and that will be it. And in exchange, they'll get the blood money from the International Monetary Fund. Now, a lot of people are out there saying, why is Julian Assange even looking at any legal difficulty? That ginned up sexual harassment crime up in Europe, that got dropped. That turned out to be completely bogus here. The U.S. is talking about wanting to grab Assange and try him for espionage. They want to make an example out of him to scare the independent media in case somebody leaks something to us. They don't want us publishing it. But again, going on back to the legal precedent set by the Pentagon Papers, news reporting organizations are not subject to the Espionage Act. If somebody just walks in off the street and says, I am leaking this to you, the American people need to know. And the publication company says, you are correct, the American people need to know. The only time that a news organization can come under the effects of Title 18 is if they solicit the classified information. If they know somebody's got the information and they say, can you get for me this? Then you're in trouble. And in fact, going back to HBO's Newsroom miniseries, there actually was an episode that went into that at one point. It's a very fine line. You've got to be very careful. If somebody just gives you something, you can go with it. If they ask, do you want more, and you say yes, you are in big trouble. We're going to do a shout out now to our on-air affiliates who are just now rejoining the network. And we're going to take a phone call from Layla up there in Ontario. Aloha, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Mike. It's the loyalty oath to Israel. Part of me has to laugh. It's taken 70 years for the U.S. to see the error of its ways. No one has any idea how many people like myself and my families suffered at the hands of the creation of Israel by the U.S. President Truman and all of the other American Zionists, Louis Brandeis, Felix Frankfurter, all heroes to the American psyche. It's just a pity that Americans did not realize earlier that what they were creating was the Frankensteinian monster that would someday devour them, although it has been really in control of the U.S. long before 1948, when Israel was created with the blessing of Harry Truman, who took $2 million in cash from Justice Brandeis, Supreme Court Justice Brandeis, and Felix Frankfurter, who is considered so close to him that he was almost like his son. There were extrajudicial activities violated numerous laws but were overlooked because they were both at one time presidents of the World Zionist Organization. But while you say that people were diverted looking at the Soviet Union provided the Bolsheviks that were the ones who created Israel. With their Moshav and their Moshavim and their kibbutzes, and they came in and it was all romanticized, and everywhere I went I had to endure praise of wonderful Israel who made the desert bloom, as though it had not always been part of the Fertile Crescent throughout history. So it's both tragic, and for me at the end of my life, near the end of my life, it's almost laughable. Because to watch those who caused all the untold pain that I know of people who have been forgotten. Everyone focuses on today's Palestinians.
Yes.
Many of them are actually very new to the area, but they completely forget 70 years of suffering of all those who were chased out. I'll tell you about Din Deir Yassin. Everyone talks about Deir Yassin. What caused the flight? Not only were the people of Deir Yassin murdered, but the women who were breastfeeding their babies, their breaths were cut off. The men's genitals were stuck in their mouths, and they were dumped into the well.
Okay, Layla, we do have families listening to this broadcast, and I think we kind of need to tone it down.
Mike, I use ordinary words. I use no profanity.
Now, I'm not saying profanity. I'm just saying that just in case there's some children listening to this.
Yeah,
okay.
God forbid the Americans' tender ears should have to hear what their ancestors enabled.
Oh, come on, Layla.
Thank you very much, Mike. No, thank you very much, Mike.
All right. Well, thank you very much for the phone call. And anybody who wants to know what happened to Deir ez-Zor, you can go online. But I cannot rule out the possibility. In fact, I know for a fact there are people out there listening to the show who have their kids listen along with them. And I've gotten photos of the kids, looking at the screen and watching and listening to the show and everything. And so, come on, a little decency and common sense here. All right, so I've obviously angered Layla, and we may not hear from her for a while. Getting on back to the news. Over in Hungary, and finally a little bit of common sense, Hungary has now banned gender studies. And you need to realize it was coming to this. A few decades ago, the idea that a whole university department based on an entire academic subject would be tossed as not useful knowledge would be inconceivable. But today, especially here in the U.S., this sort of thing is common. Shakespeare's being thrown out in exchange for a lesbian author. Computer science departments are being shut down, leading to a shortage of computer scientists, which is what we really need more than we need more art history majors. Even mathematics is turning into a boiler room operation on many campuses that is focused on passing students rather than making sure they know what they're doing. So over in Hungary, they're basically out there saying, gender studies, there's nothing you can do with it. You can't get a job with it. You can't make a career out of it. It's not really an academic subject. It's a lot of people sitting around unhappy with their lives and wishing that they could be something else. And they can't. Identifying with a tree does not make me a tree. Over at Portland State University a while back, there was a philosophy professor, Peter Boghossian, and he put out a series of papers on gender studies, all of which were hoaxes. They were fakes, and if anybody had really looked at them closely, it would have been obvious they were fakes. But in order to sort of prove how academia was turning a blind eye on this gender issues, he basically wrote these up and he sent them on out there, and they got picked up and published in science journals, which basically proved his point. Academia has broken down. They're not being academic anymore. They're being politically correct. Well, obviously, Portland State University is not happy that they have been embarrassed, and so now they're going after Peter Boghossian, saying that he committed a human subject's ethics violation, and they may be after his job for pointing out the fact that gender studies is just a lot of academic opium, if you will, here. All right, another caller on the line, James in Tokyo. Aloha, welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, hi, Mike. Don't tell me Claire isn't 100% healed already.
She's getting close. She's doing better.
That's good. Good to hear. I want to talk about the Yellow Vest. Have you read their 25 demands?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. Cap on taxes, increasing some, pensions, cancel debts, stop teaching ideology in schools.
Yeah, I like that one.
This migration. There's so many great things that they're even what you would probably like the most, no more planned obsolescence, that
Yes.
products have to last 10 years, ban on GMO crops, to reindustrialize France. So when I read all this stuff, what the yellow vests are trying to do, and then I see this Sandy Cortez, the congresswoman, and what they appear to be to me are actually fascists who want to make these big green plans that take everybody's money, you get nothing from it, and public and private partnerships where basically they're giving everything away to private corporations. And plus increasing migration, eliminating borders, eliminating ICE. And I just think it's a really terrible thing that these people are trying to do in America.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And but we're seeing with the yellow vests, it's a beginning of a pushback, and it's now reached the point where apparently France is now cracking down, and Macron is simply saying there will be no more yellow vest protests. And I guess the French will put those yellow vests back in the trunk of their car, where they're supposed to be by law. But I think the protests are going to continue. I don't think coming on out and practicing repression is going to make the problem go away any more than arresting one of the organizers of the yellow vest protests did. I think it's just going to enrage the French that much more. They're clearly very angry. And you're right, that list of 25 demands, it's very well thought out. There's a lot of things on that that we could use here in the United States of America. And the yellow vest protests have already spread to other countries, including apparently there were some here in the United States which went ignored by the corporate media. And I think once we're out of this very heavy winter and into the next spring, I think we're going to see this really take off.
Yeah, I'm really hoping it does. And I agree with you that by trying to, fight back against these people and not listen to these demands against this terrible globalism and migration, it's only going to get worse. I mean, even you have the heads of two heads of Italy come out and are supporting the yellow vest, which is fascinating to me. Italy going against France, and I'm just loving it. What I'm seeing over there, but for some reason, these radicalized parts of the Democratic Party, which they're not even Democrats, they're fascists. It's kind of like, for some reason, they're catching on. And I could watch her on 60 Minutes and call Trump a racist, and more race baiting by these people with no facts to base anything up. But
yeah,
I'm just really disgusted
which is
by
funny
what's happening in America.
Which is funny because they're already demanding that Donald Trump be prepared to document everything he claims in his 8-minute speech tonight. That's
it.
Yeah.
That's if they even show it. They're trying not now even to show his speech. They're talking about it.
Yep.
Trying to advocate that. It's amazing. But that's all I wanted to say.
All right. Well, thanks an awful lot,
wish
James.
you a great day, Mike.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. We're going to let you go. Now, the major news networks have already committed to showing the speech, so it would be very embarrassing if they were all to shut down, or any of them were to shut down. If Trump goes long, the question is, would they cut him off? I remember back when there was that whole thing about Johnny Carson leaving The Tonight Show, and his replacement came on, and there was a situation where his producer literally took Ronald Reagan's speech off the air because Reagan ran long. So we'll see what happens with that. Okay, now over at Career Education Corporation, they're a company that owns 2 national for-profit college chains. I told you, it's all about the money. It's a racket here. And they basically got hit with allegations of fraud that was going to go to court. Basically, they lied about job placement rates and misled potential students to get them to enroll and take out student loans. I've been telling you about this for quite some time. And because they got caught doing it, They've reached a settlement. They deny any wrongdoing, but they're going to cancel $500 million in student debt. So there you go. Apple has been ordered to pull iPhones from stores in Germany. It's not all of the iPhones. I think it's the 7, 8, and the 10 over a dispute with Qualcomm. Apparently, there's a patent dispute over technology used in one of the chips. And so a court ruling in Munich on the 20th of December found Apple had infringed patents on power-saving technology. We got to take a break for commercials. We will be right back.
Many people write us about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you some from Amazon.com. This product is superb. I have been taking it for about a year now, and I can feel my cardiovascular system run like a Swiss watch. I definitely recommend this product for anyone that has high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and heart palpitations, A+. It's potent, but it works. I have been waking up for the past 3 years with numb hands, and a week into using Extendivite, my numb hands seem to have cleared up. My circulation was off, and now it's back on track. So I'm happy. I feel so energized, and I have my husband on it now. My mother-in-law has cholesterol problems, so I bought her a bottle as well. Thank you so much. Love the product. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Folks, we're living in a world the likes of which we've never perceived any clearer than we do now. The plan for global governance has been in the works for generations and would have likely been achieved by now but for the fact that the globalists left open their Achilles heel. With all their tools, Federal Reserve System, fiat currency, no child left behind, and then Common Core education introduced to our schools to dumb us down, vaccines, pharmaceuticals to lobotomize us, GMO foods, insertion of compromised or bought and paid for politicians, judges, mainstream media propaganda, all pieced together like a puzzle designed to ultimately bring the world under submission. But with all their strategy, they forgot one thing: knowledge. And knowledge is power. With knowledge, their bombardment is nullified. Folks, with that, as brilliant and knowledgeable as you've become, among the wisest audience of any radio audience in the world, and you are, I want you to take a moment to reflect and ask yourself, how much of that knowledge did I obtain from Republic Broadcasting Network? How high has my consciousness been raised since I've been a listener? How fast am I now able to discriminate truth from fake news by being a Republic Broadcasting listener? How clear am I now able to see the world since I've been listening to RBN? Ask yourselves those questions, folks. Then ask yourself, what is that knowledge worth to me? Like my morning coffee, how would I survive without it? A voice of truth in a sea of lies. Do we not all need to make sure it survives? Like public broadcasting, we are now finding we can only survive with listener support. Censorship, advertisers being attacked, truth itself being attacked. It's the only way through this. We at Republic Broadcasting humbly ask you to become a supporter. Look at your budget and make a determination of what Republic Broadcasting is worth to you and what you can afford on a monthly basis. Go to republicbroadcasting.org and pledge $20, $30, $40, $50, if possible, $100 a month or more if it's affordable. Click the donate button and become a regular monthly donor. Assure both us and yourself that Republic Broadcasting truth will continue to flow like that morning coffee. The network thanks you.
Well, they're stealing down on Wall Street and in Washington, too. You know, it makes me wonder, what's a guy on Main Street to do? I've always tried to be an honest, upstanding kind of guy. And I must admit lately, I thought about giving something else a try. Oh, I want to be a pirate. I want to sail the seven seas, yeah, I want to be a pirate.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking about Apple, which has been in trouble. Their stock futures are down. They're not doing very well at all. And they've made several strategic mistakes. One, of course, is thinking that the current market in the current economy could accept a $1,000 cell phone handset. And apparently there was another mistake that they made, that they basically assumed their existing customer base would simply grow up the food chain with them. That people who had become iPhone customers back on the iPhone 1, which is when I got my first one, and then they could be relied on to move to the iPhone 2 and the iPhone 4 and the iPhone 5 and the iPhone 7, 8, and 10. Well, that's not happening. Again, because of the economic realities, people are keeping their older phones. The problem is there is no more entry-level iPhone. They're all expensive. The 7, 8, and 10, they're very expensive phones. And we're seeing what I think is a really good idea coming out of ZDNet, that Apple needs to bring back an entry-level model, something that was like the iPhone 1, something that was affordable, something that will lure people into the Apple ecosystem. Basically gives them that fundamental iPhone experience. And it doesn't have to be super powerful, and it doesn't have to have a lot of whiz-bang, doesn't have to have a lot of memory, but just get them into the ecosystem. Apple's leadership, I don't know, I think they've fallen for the ivory tower syndrome. They're way up there, they're very wealthy, they're on top of a world-recognized company, and they've become disconnected from the realities of life out where their customers live, and that's always a dangerous mistake. Story coming out of IntelliHub talking about electric cars, which are turning into a bust. Probably many of you may not know this, but companies that are producing electric cars are receiving government subsidies. The government would like us all to trade over to electric cars, which I'm okay with. I think electric cars are the wave of the future. What we're missing is a clean, economical source for the electricity. Right now, people are taking their gasoline-powered cars over to the used car lot. Then they're buying an electric car, and they're saying, I'm clean, I'm clean, I'm clean. No, you're not, because most of the electricity charging those batteries in the electric cars is being generated by petroleum-powered generating plants. So there's a hole in that cycle. Once it's there, I think this thing is going to take off, especially with the new fast-charging batteries that are coming on out. The downside is, though, and this has a lot to do with the troubles that Tesla is dealing with, the government is now rethinking these subsidies and may yank them. And so companies that are currently producing electric cars may decide to stop and just go on back to those good old reliable gasoline-powered models, which I'm sure big oil is going to love that. Big oil hated the idea of electric cars, even though big oil was making money off of generating that electricity. Over in Belgium, the court has now banned Uber in Brussels, and apparently it's being outlawed in the city of Brussels, so that people who are operating in the areas of NATO and the EU Commission, as well as key international organizations, are only using legitimate taxis. And apparently this is being done for security reasons, out of concern that anybody can pretend to be an Uber driveway and kidnap somebody. Last week we were talking about this car carrier that was on its way from Japan to here in Honolulu, and it caught fire. Good Samaritans raced there, and they've rescued all but one of the crew, who is presumed dead. And as of right now, the U.S. Coast Guard is saying it's just time to abandon the ship. It's burning, and it's only a matter of time before it's going to sink with all those brand new cars on board. Oh, the horror, the horror, the horror. Meanwhile, off the east coast of Canada, there is a Hapag-Lloyd container ship that's on fire, or broke out in fire. And the fire started January 3rd in one container on the deck of the Yantian Express, was the name of the ship, and is spread to additional containers. I don't know if it's out yet or not, but what are they putting in those containers that sort of spontaneously combusts? I mean, for all the TSA groping of us going in and out of the airports here, is anybody actually checking those cargoes that go in those containers? Because all of a sudden, we seem to have a lot of ships catching fire. Okay, we're coming up on our next commercial break, and we'll be right back after these few words. So stay tuned.
You are tuned in to the Republic Broadcasting Network. Visit our website by going to republicbroadcasting.org.
Do you worry a lot? If you're forgetful, nervous, moody, or overwhelmed, chances are you're not protecting yourself from the ravaging effects of stress and anxiety. No matter the cause, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, your quality of life, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in as little as 1 to 2 weeks and increase your ability to recall facts, names, and numbers in 4 to 12 weeks. Calm and Clever was created by scientist Kurt Hendricks, a principal investigator in 2 NIH-funded studies on Alzheimer's disease. Try Calm and Clever for 2 months. You'll feel the difference. Call 1-800-758-8746 or go to calmandclever.com.
Do you know there is an ongoing war right here in America? Are you aware that U.S. citizens have been classified as enemies of the state since 1933? Have you recognized that our entire government is really a vast network of interlocking corporations engaged in commerce? Look up Title 28, Section 3002. Tune in to In Defense of Humanity on Saturday nights at 7 p.m. Central Time. Find out what's really going on and learn how to protect yourself and your family as flesh and blood men and women living in a corporate reality.
Many people write about their experience with Extendivite. Allow me to read you a few from Amazon.com. My wife and I both use Extendivite and are very pleased with the results. It has helped to stabilize our blood pressure and to make both of us feel healthier. Good product and good buy. So far, so good. I've been taking Extendivite 3 times a day, only a short while now, but already I've noticed the circulation in my hands and feet improving. They tingle. I like the idea of taking something herbal rather than pills. I take Extendivite 3 times a day, every day. I think this supplement has helped with my increased fitness regime and to lower my blood pressure. Tell us your story. Get Extendivite today. Call 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
We will not go down in the night without a fight. You can burn up our mosques and our homes and our schools, but our spirit will never die. We will not go down in Gaza tonight.
And aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. And I'm looking at the Fox News, and the Democrats are now pushing to allow absentee voting in the Iowa caucuses. Now, the way the caucuses run is everybody shows up to their caucusing precinct, and they just have the vote right then and there. And if you allow absentee ballots, it's just another vector for fraud. The Democrats are going to be prying open the security on what's left of our election system. Our election system is an embarrassment, and it's a humiliation. And one of the things that Trump promised he was going to do was fix it. And he didn't, and he paid the price for it in the midterms. All right, we have a caller on the line, Stephen in Oregon. Aloha, Stephen. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Well, I haven't called you since the New Year, so Happy New Year, Michael. And
Thank you.
You were talking about the container ships. There are things known as diplomatic containers. And just think, if you have diplomatic immunity and you could not have anybody search your little container, you could do lots of nasty things. So I just wanted to point that out.
I know about diplomatic pouches. I wasn't aware there was such a thing as a diplomatic container, but thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
All right, same to you. Oh, my goodness. Okay, let's get on to some science and health stories. This is out of naturalnews.com. Apparently, there is now a pro-vaccine medical journal that is now admitting there is, in fact, scientific evidence that vaccines can and do kill some children. And apparently there was this study done in 2003 that was basically part of the CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices. Now, research data is highlighting a number of what are called intussusception cases after receiving a rotavirus vaccine. An analysis of vaccine adverse event reporting system reports indicate 2 deaths associated with rotavirus vaccine between 2006 and 2012. On the other hand, a review of electronic health records showed that the 2009 H1N1 inactivated influenza vaccine might be a contributing factor in the deaths of 2 patients with confirmed Guillain-Barré syndrome. Now, you know what you're going to hear from the pharmaceutical companies. Well, it's just a few people. It's just a few people. Well, that's easy to say, unless it's somebody that's in your family. I have a neighbor who's never gotten the flu shot, never got the flu, was convinced to get the flu shot by his girlfriend, put him in bed for 3 days. Story out, again, Natural News. Down in Las Vegas, this guy got him, actually the story originated over at InfoWars. And Shane Morgan and his wife Monique decided to get flu shots on November 2nd, believing it would protect him. After 36 hours, Shane started to get sick, and he wound up in the hospital unable even to breathe. Meanwhile, the FDA has now approved the Axelis combo vaccine, 6-in-1. Not enough problems with the MMR vaccine. Let's put 6 in there and just see what the heck happens. All right, we got a caller on the line. Terry in California. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Hey, Mike, my whole family, my daughter's whole family is sick with the flu, and they got the flu shot, but I don't think it was a result of the shot. I think it was a different strain of virus because it was a little lag time in there, a few weeks. And that just points out to me that, you know, they guess at which strain's going to hit the country, and it mutates
That's
so
exactly
fast
right.
that
You're exactly
and
right.
also,
When they start getting ready, the flu shot for next flu season, they're simply guessing what flu strains are going to be out there. And every once in a while, they'll miss, and we'll have a horrible flu season because the flu that becomes dominant is not actually in the vaccine. But they'll go on sticking that needle in you and getting your money, even though it's completely ineffective.
I think there's about 80 strains, and, you know, to guess 1 out of 80, the odds aren't very good.
Well, it's not
But,
just there's 80. They're constantly mutating. There are new strains
Right.
evolving all the time.
Exactly. before you were talking about some Jewish organization. Well, I called up and made a donation to the Jewish Voice for Peace this morning.
Those are good people.
Even though I'm not Jewish, and they that organization really started with about 2 or 3 women, maybe about 10 or 15 years ago, and it's really proliferated out. You know, I mean, there's chapters all over the country, and you know they've got centers in California, New York, and so I support them. And of course, after
They're good
that,
people.
I hung up, and then I called Julie over at RBM and made my little donation to them.
Well, thank you for that.
They're probably good.
Thank you for that.
And you know, the reason you had a discussion a little while ago about why doesn't Donald Trump fire these people? You know, like Bolton and Pompeo. And first of all, I would have thought that he would have cleared that with everybody before he said we're pulling out of Syria. I want to get your comment on that before I go to the next
Well,
step.
Trump was talking about pulling out of Syria last March, and obviously somebody yanked his leash back then. And so I think this time he just decided he was going to go ahead and do it because he knew if he started talking to people like Pompeo and Bolton about pulling out of Syria, they'd talk him out of it because he really is a weak leader. And so that's why he did it. And he may have done it out of anger over the fact that Pompeo and Bolton, they're not taking his lead on anything. They're not clearing what they're doing through his office. He is supposed to be the president, and nobody's treating him like it. And I can imagine his anger and frustration at that. But again, Trump wanted the job. We all worked to give him that job, and he's got to do the job. He can't just sit on back and let the country run itself, because the country's going to run itself off the rails.
Well, the reason he doesn't fire Bolton is because, for the same reason he put him in. Adelson would go crazy if he fired Bolton. He's the one that got him to put it in the first place. And I don't know about Pompeo. He might have had something to do with putting him in, too. So it all reminds me of, goes back to George W. Bush, that completely turned over the whole country to the neocons and Israel lobby and everything. You know, he just said, you guys run it, and I'm out of this. I'm just a spokesman for you. And it seems like Trump is right on the edge of that, you know, and it's very frustrating for me.
Well, right now, Trump and Sheldon Adelson are not on good terms because Trump had been expecting Adelson to provide enough money for the Republicans to keep the House of Representatives, and that did not happen. And again, that has to do with the fact there was a massive amounts of vote fraud and illegal immigrant voting, and Trump failed to deal with that. He had 2 years to deal with that issue, and he didn't. So it's as much his failing as anybody else. But right now, he's blaming Sheldon Adelson for loss of the House of Representatives, and so I don't think Adelson has as much influence over him as he used to. And on the day when Trump realizes there is no way he's going to be able to run for a second term, Sheldon Adelson will have lost all influence over him.
Well, that's good. Let me ask you this. Those immigrants from the caravan that were stopped at the border, what's the disposition of them? Because I heard they were processing them. You know, originally I heard, you know, they put them in Tijuana and they're processing them and they can't come in until then. But then I read where over in Texas they took a bunch of immigrants they didn't have room for and dropped them off at the bus station in El Paso. Did you hear that?
Yeah, about 2,000 of them because the facilities are not sufficient. And again, what a stupid policy, to follow. What you ought to do is at that border is you turn them right back around. And you say, you go home and you wait until your request for amnesty is processed. You know, why are we having to pay to house and feed these people who are trying to break the law in this country?
Yeah, it's what everybody wants to know. And can you tell me what store sells those yellow vests? I want to go buy one.
You can get them at any hardware store or auto supply store. It's just a standard safety vest.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm ready to put that on and go with next spring. You know, when it all comes to pass. Okay, Mike, that's all I wanted to say. Appreciate your call, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
All right, thanks an awful lot. I actually had one of those yellow vests when I still had the Honda, but when the Honda got stolen and stripped, they took all the tools and everything, and that included the vest. So I'll, by golly, have to get another one of those. Alrighty, apparently Trump's new Health and Human Services Department may ban the idea of mandatory vaccinations nationwide, or at least that's what's coming out of Natural News. And the first ever Californian Republican to become House Minority Leader, Kevin McCarthy, just threw a touchdown pass to Team USA regarding health care freedom for Americans. And apparently there is a new division at Health and Human Services created for civil rights called the Conscience and Religious Freedom Division. In other words, they're going to bring back the right of the people to reject mandatory vaccinations based on conscience and their religions. Now, obviously, in my case, I don't have a religion, but I do have a conscience. These things are dangerous. They're ineffective. And so this guidance document dismantles all of the forced vaccination mandates across the USA, including in California. Now, it sounds really good, but you know Big Pharma is going to push back because they're making huge amounts of money off the vaccines, and they don't want anybody to get away. They want every single American to have a needle stuck in him because that is money in the bank. And there's probably going to be a huge propaganda campaign. First of all, Trump may back off this. He's proving himself to be flip-floppy, wishy-washy on so many other things. He may back off on this. But even if this new division stands firm, there's going to be a massive propaganda campaign. Oh, these, you know, forget about conscience and religion. Those are loonies. Those are kooks. Those are tinfoil hat people. You need your vaccines. The vaccines are keeping you healthy. No, the vaccines in a lot of cases are making people sick, and even medical professionals are saying that. It's gotten so bad down in Australia that nurses in Australia are now being told that if they say or do anything indicating doubt in the efficacy of vaccines, they will be prosecuted. The idea that any information that questions vaccines is considered false, misleading, deceptive information under national law and is highly prosecutable by the Australian Health Practitioner Regulatory Agency. They're using the law to sell these products to people who don't want it. And we've been seeing that for quite some time. Oh, you must have a Bluetooth earpiece to use your cell phone in the car. Actually, it's a good idea. I remember in California when they came up with those vapor recovery gas hoses. The guy who invented them went to the gasoline stations and said, this is what it does. And they said, no, it's a lot of money. Our customers aren't going to care about it. So grease a few California legislators' palms, get it voted through the legislature, and they became mandatory. That's a big part of what fascism is, using government authority to force you to buy stuff you don't really want, including vaccines. Now, here's an alarming story. This is coming out of Ideal Medical Care. It turns out a survey is showing that 75% of medical students and residents are on antidepressants or stimulants or both. And then we wonder why there are so many medical mistakes out there. And remember, according to a study by Johns Hopkins, medical mistakes are the third leading cause of death in the United States after cancer and heart disease. Now, you're never going to see that reported in the corporate media because the corporate media very much wants to continue to get all that advertising money from Big Pharma, the hospitals and everything. That's a big, big chunk of their advertising income, selling you the med biz, as it were. Story over in the Chicago Tribune. Congo's Ebola outbreak exceeds 600 cases, according to the World Health Organization. Here is the important line. The majority of new cases occurred in cities and urban areas in eastern North Kivu province. where an Ebola outbreak was declared in August. So note, these are cities and urban areas. That's very new. All previous Ebola outbreaks had been deep inside the jungle, remote, isolated places where the disease burned itself out before it could get anywhere. Now we're talking cities and urban areas. And of course, as you know, in support of that failed coup in Gabon, American soldiers were in Gabon, which is right next door to the Congo. By the way, that Swedish individual who was vomiting blood they thought might have Ebola, the test came back negative. So everybody in Sweden, take a deep breath. All right, we're going to take a phone call. John in New Jersey, aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Good evening, or it might be good afternoon, Michael. I'm calling New Jersey, kind of semi-pharmaceutical capital of the United States, whatever. Now, I was listening and I had to disconnect, so I probably lost a little bit of conversation, but there was conversation about, the pharmaceuticals make so much money off of this. Well, yes. How is it that you go to Walmart and go to Rite Aid and go to CVS and go to Walgreens and they just hand out the flu shots for free? Now, I understand, I guess the government and our tax dollars are paying for it.
There are subsidies involved. There are subsidies involved in there, and basically there is a funding mechanism. There's a huge uplift on all these medicines, and it's become another scandal in the medical industrial complex that medicines here in the United States are way, way overpriced compared to what they go for in other countries around the world. And so the offer of a free flu shot is used as an inducement to get you to come into their particular drugstore and buy whatever you're going to buy, because the actual cost of a flu shot is virtually nothing. Anyway, John, got to let you go. Got to take a break for commercials. Back with the last segment of our program after these few words.
Homeowners, if your lender has gone out of business or sold your transaction to another lender or servicer, you may be the victim of a wrongful foreclosure, resulting in the loss of your home. If you've already lost your home, are in foreclosure, or even in good standing, you can challenge the mortgage transaction's illegal issue, and your property can be restored to you, and your foreclosure can be stopped or reversed, and the mortgage transaction declared unenforceable. State laws, U.S. title codes, the Uniform Commercial Codes, and U.S. Supreme Court rulings have upheld that defective mortgage documentations can reverse or stop foreclosures and enforce property title claims in favor of the homeowner. We are having successes in stopping the process of foreclosure, the enforcement of the foreclosure judgments, the sale of property, and evictions after the sale. We are not attorneys, and we don't give legal advice. We are a professional team of legal researchers, providing forensic mortgage audits and expert witnesses. We have the knowledge to produce the evidence and enforce laws regarding your legal issues. We've been in business for 12 years without a complaint. Consultations are free, and we provide a free title search to confirm if your mortgage has legal defects. Please call 855-253-3748. 855, the number 2, keep it today.
Without the right accessories, any guy can be off the mark. Whether you've invested thousands in your arsenal or you own a single trusted firearm, a visit to AROutfitting.com is in order. It's one of the finest online selections of tactical optics and AR parts and add-ons, like EOTech, quick target acquisition with no peripheral loss. Browse the full range of Nikon scopes and binoculars. AROutfitting.com can illuminate your world with Streamlight gun-mounted lights from keychain to large handhelds, up to 1,100 lumens. Find some stability with Battenfield Tactical Bipods. AirOutfitting.com has CMMG gun parts, barrels, assemblies, handguards, part kits, and more, plus mag-full clips and magazines. I know I've got you excited, so take a breath. Head to AirOutfitting.com. The site's super easy to navigate and features a ton of technical info, including links to manuals. We also welcome vendor and manufacturer inquiries. Remember, if you don't see it, we can get it at AirOutfitting.com.
The First Amendment in the Bill of Rights limits the government's power by ensuring the freedom of speech and preserving the rights of the people. Every day that passes, our rights gradually slip away. It's time to take a stand and let the government know we're tired of losing our rights. LibertyStickers.com will allow you to express your rights and allow millions of people to see you stand up for what you believe in. LibertyStickers.com carries the largest selection of bumper stickers online, ranging from political to humorous, and is your #1 source for Ron Paul for President stickers. As always, you can find your favorite stickers that protest the war and the president. Don't see what you're looking for? Liberty Stickers will custom make stickers that will let you get your message across for all Americans to see. Go to LibertyStickers.com and see pre-made stickers that will get everyone talking. That's LibertyStickers.com or call 877-873-9626. Liberty Stickers, the world's most dangerous stickers.
When all this twisted steel was swept away, did these remaining holes reveal what's really happened?
And aloha, America. Welcome back to our show here. Now, back on January 3rd, there was a story about how people at the Salt Lake City International Airport spotted a Ukrainian Air Force Ilyushin 76 Candid cargo plane land and basically taxi over to the Air National Guard facility attached to the airport. And online plane trackers had noticed the flight following an odd path coming over from Ukraine, and noticed that the transponder code was showing up as a 737 civilian passenger airliner belonging to the Ukrainian airline Dnipro-Avia. And at the time of the story, I said, I'm going to take a wild guess here that this plane is bringing over one of the radars used for the S-300 missile system so that the U.S. can actually try it out and see if the F-35 can defeat it. And by golly, Russia Today is in fact confirming that's exactly what happened. Ukraine, prior to the overthrow of Yanukovych and the installation of Poroshenko, had acquired the S-300 system, and they have now sent one of the radar systems over to the United States, where it's probably going to go to the Utah Proving Grounds, and they're going to fly the F-35 against it and see how it works. Now, remember last week we were talking about this story where people were starting to raise doubts whether the F-35 was really as stealthy as it was claimed to be. If it was really just this incredible $1 trillion boondoggle that was a bluff. Remember the F-117? Oh, it's invisible. It's a stealth jet. And it did very well over Iraq when it was working in concert with other aircraft that were doing radar suppression. When they flew one all by itself over Kosovo, it got spotted and shot down. About a month ago, a Russian pilot succeeded in getting radar lock on an F-22 over Syria. Didn't fire, but just making the point. And don't forget what the Russians were able to do to the Donald Cook over in the Black Sea. Okay, over on the far side of the moon, China has now released the 308-pound rover named Jade Rabbit 2 to basically trundle across the far side of the moon at a maximum speed of 220 yards per hour, carrying out mineral, biological, and radiation tests, basically simulating all of the activities that would be needed to build a lunar base. It even includes inside itself a little mini greenhouse with some seeds and air and soil and apparently nutrient solution, which is being exposed to the sun, I presume, under some serious filtering. But China has already said they have long-range plans to build a lunar base, and apparently this mission to the far side of the moon is part of that plan. Now, the reason they're able to go to the far side of the moon is they have a radio relay satellite orbiting the Lagrange point on the far side of the moon that bounces the signals back and forth. All right, there is the music. Time for me to get on out of here. Stay tuned for John Stedmiller. I'm sure he's got lots and lots of useful things to share with you. Please take what you learn here, share it with everybody that you know. Use paper mail, email, face-to-face contact. telephones, whatever. Stay off social media. It's rapidly becoming useless for anybody other than those who like funny kitten videos. Please donate to Republic Broadcasting. Thanks to all of you who have donated. We'll be back tomorrow. Aloha, America.